Hello, hello, and welcome to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and y'all, I am so excited to be on the air with you all once again. I am always just overjoyed every single week being able to come on, bring fresh conversations, talk about things that are going on in the community and just things that I find very, very important to myself. Y'all know I love to talk about things going on in the community. And for those listening, you know you're listening to a show that aims to inspire you to be the best version of yourself. That's why I have moments where I give inspirational moments, but I also have time where I bring guests on for them to share more about the things in their life experiences that you can learn more about. Before we get into today's conversation, I encourage you to download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to this show on the go on your electronic devices and tag a friend and have them listen into today's show because one, I'm personally excited about it. Number two, I think it's going to be very powerful and you're going to learn something, be able to hear something that you never heard before. Now, today's show is all about courage, truth, and yes, the word nerve. Now, who better to have this conversation with than someone who has been synonymous with leadership and impact right here in our community? She's no stranger to this show. This is not her first time coming on. You've heard her voice before, but today I welcome her back with something new and powerful in hand. Her new book titled Nerve and Other Ish It Takes to Run for Public Office. And y'all, writing from the front lines of experience, Mrs. Paula DeBoles-Johnson takes us into the honest, sometimes messy, but always meaningful journey of what it really takes to run for office and why we need more everyday people with big hearts and a clear purpose at the table. We're going to talk about purpose, passion, politics, and the moment when you have to decide if you've got the nerve to do the thing, even if you're scared. So whether you're an aspiring leader, an advocate, or just someone wondering what kind of person steps into the fire for the sake of the community, this conversation is for you. And I am so excited. But before I bring my guest in, everybody knows I give my proper introduction. So Miss Paula DeBoles-Johnson is a dedicated public servant and community leader with over 3 decades of experience in Florida's capital. She's earned both her bachelor's and a master's degree from the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. In her professional career, she focuses on enhancing workforce development and organizational performance, while her passion for others is demonstrated through her nonprofit work. Through her career, she has been committed to addressing key issues such as academic access and success, economic development, and crime reduction, believing that strategic partnerships, education, and economic initiatives can simultaneously tackle multiple community challenges. She's deeply involved in several nonprofit organizations in Tallahassee, and her extensive community service and leadership efforts have been recognized nationally. In 2022, she ran for political office, which is the inspiration for her latest release, which we are talking about today, titled Nerve. It is an essential guide for aspiring politicians, leaders, and others seeking to advance their social activism, offering invaluable insights into the intricacies of political campaigns and public service. Now, I know that was a mouthful, but we have the one and only Miss Paula DeBoles-Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kaylin, thank you so much for having me, darling. That was a wonderful introduction.
I'm so happy to have you on, y'all. I personally have been able to see Miss Paula every now and again writing chapters in the book, being able to see and hear her vision. And I'm just so happy that it has been brought to life and that we are here to discuss it. So let's just kind of jump right in into your journey. I mean, you've worn many hats, like I said before, leader, public servant, advocate. But what was the defining moment that made you say, I'm running for office?
Great question, Kaylin. I want to say that I was actually asked to run for school board when both of our daughters were in middle school. So we were heavily involved in the schools, whether the teachers wanted to see us or not. But I do believe in collaboration and partnerships. And I think that's the best way for both teachers and parents and young people to get the things they need, right? Through collaboration, understanding, constant communication. So while we were there in the school, Zamoria was transitioning to high school, Zanani was still at Fairview. Someone asked me, Paula, you'd be great for the school board. Have you ever considered it? And I said, why, yes, I have. But I talked to my husband and I talked to the girls, and we decided it would probably be best for me to wait until they got out of school. We've seen what happens on the national scene, we've seen what happens locally. It used to be a time where people had a hands off approach to children and family in politics. Now there's so much vitriol, and I did not want that for the girls. So David and I decided we might want to wait until they got out of school, they graduated high school, and then I could make the decision. But in that time, I saw some things happening in the community that I wanted to change. And that was actually the thing that made me say, county commission, I'm going to try that. So it was a couple of things. It wasn't just one defining moment, it was a lot of small moments and an ask.
I think that's really cool too. We need a lot more involved parents. I mean, I think about my entire life, my mom, my dad, my extended church family, everybody was there ready to step in, ready to make sure that I was taken care of. But I think it goes an extra step forward when you not just have those parents who are concerned, but parents who actually are staying informed and seeing what's going on in the community. And I was happy to see you run. I mean, I helped with the campaign. I saw
Yeah,
so many people helping out there. And obviously, we know that the situation didn't end up the way we expected the outcome to. But even in reading your book and hearing the word nerve, hearing the title nerve, the fact that you still are able to write out your experience and be
absolutely.
able to give people your real, authentic, everything that you had to go through to even be in the position to run, I think is important because so many people think it's an easy thing to step into office or it's easy to immediately get there. I mean, I look at campus elections at FAMU and I see how much students do for that here. So even thinking about that in the political office, it's a lot. In reading your book, you say in your forward that those closest to the community often have the seats furthest from the decision making. Do you think it's going to take to change that?
Intentionality, planning, collaboration, and nerve or fearlessness. If we're serious about electing those who understand our needs, those that are willing to listen to our concerns and vote for our interests, we need to be very intentional about recruiting and supporting these kind of candidates. And when I mention planning, if you're talking about looking for good people to run for office, we can't start looking for leaders now for the next election, right? We need to build a bench. And we've been talking about that for years. We're often reactionary and we need to be proactive. So we're talking about people that are prepared for 20 years down the line. So that means we're looking at young people that are in middle school and high school and college now, preparing them, educating them, informing them about the importance of keeping their credit clean, keeping their name a positive one in the community, making good choices and teaching them the process. And then when they're ready, we can just pluck from that bench and have them prepared to run for office. And then we support them. That's the planning piece, right? Um, when I talk about fearlessness and collaboration, you have to have something in you. You've got to be a different kind of person to want to run for office. We see what's happening both on the national scene and what's happening locally. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, don't worry. But it takes a fair amount of fearlessness because now nothing's off limits. And now we can see that we're clearly not choosing the people that are interested in the things that we're concerned about, right? So you have to be intentional when you're talking about choosing people that are going to advocate on your behalf. And we also need to make sure that when they're not, we get them out of office. I don't understand when we came to this point of complacency or where we feel like we have no power. We put you in that seat we can take you out. And I think that we need to remember, as the people right now, we hold the power, right? And people feel, they feel left out of the process. They're hurting. They feel like no one's listening to them. So if you want your electeds to hear you, you got to make noise. If they don't meet with you, again, you make sure when it's time for the election, you show up. All of these things make the difference. And when we say we can't get good people in office, it's oftentimes because we haven't prepared ourselves to choose the best leaders, or we haven't held the leaders that are in office accountable, or we're not actively working to get them out when they're not doing their job. So I think it's a lot of moving pieces.
I think so many people hear that. You think of my generation. You have so many people who are in my generation who say we don't have enough leaders who care about us or who hear what we're going through. And I think it is about having those people who actually care about what's going on. Because I'll tell you, I mean, I look at the elections, I see who's in office, and I couldn't tell you who half of those people were. I couldn't tell you where they come from, what they're doing. And I think that's why, regardless of the outcome, I was just so inspired, even by you running, because you were yourself. You showed who you were, no matter the reactions of what people said, of what happened.
That
And
part.
I mean, you talk about being fearless or having that fearlessness, having the nerve. When you think about even making the decision to run, did you have any fears that first came before? Was it weird seeing yourself as a leader, or did you just kind of, you've already been in that position, so it felt necessary?
See, you hit the nail on the head. And it's not an arrogance thing. When you start this process and you're talking to all of the big wigs, the special people that are paid to do this work, and they look at you and say the things that you need to change, or the things you need to fix, or the things you need to say, is there anything in your background that will come up and embarrass you or the campaign? Is there anything in your family's background? Well, I know my family and I know what's in our background. And I'm like, I tell you what, I'll tell it before I let you tell it. That's who I am, right? You know me, Kaylin. I'm gonna put it out there. For me, it was really simple. I've always seen myself as a leader because that's what I was taught. That's what we taught our children. All of the people in our circle, you, the other young people, our godchildren, they're all leaders. And we've always been taught that if there was something that needed to be done, step up and do it. Why are you always looking for somebody else to lead you? And I think that's part of our challenge. We're always looking for someone else to step up and tell us what to do. You have everything you need inside of you. And I'm going back to the arrogance thing. I was very clear in my prayers. I asked God, and yes, I'm a person of faith. I'm like, Lord, this is something I want to do. I think I can make change happen. I'm a collaborator. I'm a consensus builder. I've been doing this work since I got here. People know me. I think I've got great name recognition. Can I do this? And he clearly gave me permission to do it. So after the election, when we're unpacking all of these things, it never dawned on me that I would lose. Never, never, right? And people are like, well, oh, Paula, that sounds kind of funny. And I'm like, no, he gave me
Mm-mm.
permission to run. For me, the outcome was to win. What would have been the point, right? But in talking to one of my girlfriends, who's also the editor of my book, shout out to Mayphilia Odette Hannah. Hey, girl, thank you for your help.
Woo woo.
Abraham's Inc. She said, well, sis, did he ever say you would win? And she hurt my whole feelings with that. She really did, right? But he never said that I would win. And to this day, I believe that there are pieces that I was supposed to learn and other pieces of inspiration that other people were supposed to get for my race. And even though this is the second reiteration of this book, I think I might have shared with you during some of our one-on-one time that I had to write this book twice because the first version was corrupted. We couldn't get it back. And she also said, she said people didn't want to see that version. It was terrible. They didn't want to see it. And she only saw a couple of chapters. She was like, no one wants that. So with all of this, I've seen myself as a leader. I knew that I could make an impact. And even though I didn't win, I'm not going to stop continuing to make an impact. If you need a leader, look in the mirror. That's your leader. You're the person that can make the change. And I'm just hoping this book inspires others to realize their own power. They can see some of the things that I went through, and I hope that'll inspire them to step up and lead, because we need you all. We need the young people to step up, show up, vote. We need you.
I think that number one, like I'm a firm believer, and I know you agree with this too, that everything happens for a reason. I know we can't always determine why or see why, but I mean, that's the lesson. Everybody learns how to win when you're younger, but learning to lose is like one of the hardest things you could ever do, because especially when you're used to seeing everything, especially when you're talking to God, I have faith, different things. That's hard. And a lot of people don't realize how much you have to truly learn from the things, even when you want to call it a loss. I mean, I don't really call anything failures. I call L's delayed W's. So I just think that as much as we talk about the book and we're talking about your reign, like the title is Nerve, but of course you had the nerve to run, but you also had the nerve to lose and push through it and to keep going. Why did you choose the title Nerve? What does nerve look like in real life for a candidate and just a person in general?
So I want to make it clear that the book and the things that I experienced are unique to me running for office, right? And as I've shared, it's not for the faint of all. It's not for the faint of heart. And you have to be prepared for the bull. I think that's probably chapter 4. Um, but I think it's important to make this distinction because before I ran, people who know me know I'm a researcher, I'm a planner. I spoke to a lot of people that are already in politics, people that have lost, people that have run campaigns, and all of their journeys were very different, right? But the one thing that they kept saying, you got to be built different for this. If you have a thin skin, and if you're not ready for some eat, and they said all kind of things, then you don't need to step into this arena. And people who really know me, they're like, okay, so sis, you're tough and everything, but we also know your heart. Your heart's got to be prepared for the stuff that's going to come at you. And again, it wasn't arrogance. I was like, people either love me or hate me. There's no in between with Paula, right? And I said, I'm prepared for all of it. But the one thing people kept saying, and they were calling it different things, it was you got to have the nerve to do it. You got to have the courage to do it. You got to have that. And for me, it was nerve. And I told you about the other part of the title. They kept saying, be prepared for all the stuff that comes with it. So it, I knew every day I had to show up as either a chameleon or my authentic self. And I was going to always be me. And I was always going to lead with truth because it's too hard to keep up with a lie, right? And I try to lead with love and honesty. And I try to bring others in and I try to show that to others. So that is all the purpose for the book. You got to have something in you and you got to have the spirit and the drive that it takes to do this work. It's hard work trying to serve others. It's thankless work a lot of times, right? But you do it because it's the right thing to do.
And that's very hard for some people to grasp that idea of doing it because it's the right thing to do. There's so many people that, my personal opinion, I just be wondering why people run. But I learn as I grow, just like everybody else does. And so I think the thing I love the most, like you said, you're a researcher. Of course, I dug deep into this book. I wanted to see, mainly because I just know, like you said, having to rewrite it, having to get different versions. But I love the fact that in all the chapters you had different acronyms that were
Mhm.
in each part for people to really pull. I'm a quote person all day. And so being able to see those different acronyms, okay, I know if I'm in a moment, I'm heated. If I ever decide to run for office, I'm going to remember an acronym. But
Please.
one of the acronyms that you have in there is PART, PART, and in the chapter Know Your Why. And so which part of that acronym challenged you the most during your political run?
See, I love how you say which one. All of it challenged me. All of it. Which is why it's in the book. I, for me, you've got to figure out your purpose. Why are you in this? Okay, so you're a pretty popular person, Caitlin, for a lot of different reasons. And I think it's your heart. It rolls off of you. And it's the same thing with my girls. That is not who all of that love and just being good and wonderful and that doesn't roll off me. But there are certain people that are just very special. And it's like, I'm here for you. I'll take care of you. I love you. I'll help you. It rolls off of them. And people glom to those people. They try to attach themselves to that people. And it can be a thing that's very draining. I've seen that in all of you. So, off topic, I love the fact that you all take care of yourselves and that you set boundaries. You're going to need that because people will suck the life out of you if you allow it. People love to take. I haven't found a whole lot of givers, right? But the one thing that I believe that we all as humans want is to feel safe, is to feel seen, and know that someone somewhere cares about us or values us, right? So when you're talking about doing this work, you have to have a heart for it. It can't be about you just wanting to be this special person. It's got to be serving the people. That's what it's called politics, but it's called public service. I like to call it servant leadership because you're there to serve others. And you have to know your part. You've got to know why you're doing this work. And I think if you always reflect back to your reason for doing this, the purpose of you stepping into this role, you can never go wrong because it'll lead you back to I'm here for the people. I'm here to serve, not be seen, not to be served, to serve others.
And that's so important. I challenge y'all, especially number one, to get the book. I'm keep putting that shameless
Get
plug
the
in there.
book.
But for those who do get the book, really do pay attention because I'm not going to give you everything. But I will say the acronym is P stands for purpose and passion. A is avoid superficial reasons. R is representation. And T is transparency. And I'll let y'all take the time to read each individual one in there for yourself. But those are four key things that I think are important, especially for running for office, but also just being a good person. I mean, you got to know your why in everything that you do. If you don't know your why, you won't have the nerve to do anything. And I think that is really important. I mean, another thing that you talk about in the book as well, which is kind of hard for some people. I know in journalism they teach us, follow the money. Yours in the book was take the freaking money. And that's very bold and honest. And I know in there it says that's one of your biggest regrets. Why was that such a big regret for you? And what would you say to those who are hesitant about campaign fundraising?
So I know everybody remembers the whole issue with Doak. Yeah, okay. So I was in a very precarious situation. Everybody knows my day job is Leon County government. And anything that may come before the commission and as a county employee, there are certain things I can't even talk about, right? Because it's part of my job. And I was always very clear whenever I got the invitations, I would tell them, look, these are things that I can't discuss, and I will have to say that. And I will say, as an employee, these are things that I can't talk about. And it's because it may come before the commissioners to vote on, right? So there are rules, right? And people should understand the rules. So it was a big issue, but it was a done deal pretty much during that time. And for people to bring it up, they were bringing it up because they just didn't want to let it die. But the reason for bringing it up, this is what they said, is we'd like to know how you would vote in the future. And that gave me pause because it was bull, right? Everybody who knows me would already know what my stance would have been on that. They already knew. So to talk about something that none of us in the race could even control at that point, we didn't vote on it, right? And it was an issue that was already settled. To bring that up just to say we want to see how you might vote in the future was crazy to me. But they also knew I couldn't talk about it. So it put me at a disadvantage. So I had to kind of be more savvy with it. I knew that people were upset about developers. So I said, you know what? I've heard all of this out there. People are losing their minds about this whole developer issue. So I'm just not going to take any developer money. And people that, very smart people that I was conferring with, they were like, oh my God, Paula, don't do that. You need money. Everyone that you know is like you. And I know probably a handful of wealthy people that could write you $3,000 or $4,000 checks, and that's like their spa money, right? The rest of the people are like us, right? They're taking care of their family. They're helping to take care of other family members. They're helping to put their kids through school. They're not living paycheck to paycheck, but we're saving, and we're saving for retirement so we don't have to live with our kids, right? So they were regular, hardworking people. And they were like, you don't have big donors and you don't have enough money coming in, so we can't get your message out there. Please don't do this. But I made the decision, and you all know me, I stick to my word. I didn't take the money. And guess what that did? That reduced the opportunities for me to get my name out there. People didn't see those billboards. Y'all saw one billboard during my entire campaign, and we were so proud of that one billboard, right? You didn't see a lot of PSAs and radio advertising because we couldn't afford it, right? So I made the decision to keep my word. But this is what I know. We talk about the shortage of housing, affordable housing. We talk about the homeless issues. If we alienate every developer, who's going to build our affordable housing? Who's going to build us rapid housing with all these storms that keep happening? People keep losing their homes. We don't have people working quick enough to build new homes. If we alienate all the developers, who's going to build for us, right? So that's one of the biggest issues that I had, and I wish I hadn't done that. And I would say to anyone, don't let some of the other issues that aren't, they will impact you at some point, but don't let those issues keep you from getting the money you need so that you can do what you need to serve the people. So that was one of my biggest regrets.
It may have been a regret, but you stayed true to yourself. And
I
that's
did.
all you can do in these type of situations, especially when you're running. I would prefer somebody who stays true to themselves versus anybody who does anything simply just to get there. And I think
Thank
that
you.
speaks to who you are. So I'm just really glad that you did that. But y'all, we've gotten into some bold truths and behind the scenes grit it really does take to consider public office. And trust me, the conversation is just getting started. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dig deeper into what happens when the pressure hits, how race and identity impact the political journey, and the message Miss Paula wants to leave behind for the next generation of leaders. So don't go too far. We will be back. As we wrap up, can you share ways people can connect with you?
You can contact me on Facebook. There's also Instagram at Paula_DeBoles-Johnson, Facebook Paula.DeBoles-Johnson. But you can find my book at PaulaDeBoles-Johnson.com. And Kaylin, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm
Of
so glad we had a
course.
chance to talk.
Me too. And y'all, if y'all do not, I'm being so for real. I need y'all to get this book ASAP. I've seen the hard work that she's put into it. I mean, I'm just happy to know that there are people out there who are helping, because a lot of people, I know a lot of people who write books just to write books. No, this is a book that's going to help. I look forward to doing the same thing one day, having a book coming out. And so I always have people come in because I want people in the community to see what our community is doing to really make sure we build each other up. So, yes, y'all stay tuned for part 2. Y'all know before I go, I asked for you to connect with me on all my social media platforms, which is subscribing to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin YouTube channel. On that channel, you will be able to find more empowering conversations and get to see what I've been up to. I know I'm always posting something new, but that is a platform. If you ever have a bad day and just need to click on a video to get yourself through that day, please do so. You can follow me on Instagram at Kaylin Cares 15, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn at Kaylin's Caring Connection. And on those platforms, you'll be able to see upcoming shows. You see us share community content. You'll see us sharing this book that I want y'all to get. And certainly, I ask that you go visit me on the website, which is www.kaylinscaringconnection.com. Everything that I do, I put on that website. Just because you don't see KCK out in the open as much anymore does not mean I do not still help people and still care. I'm doing it in different capacities, and we do still plan to have things coming up. So don't forget about us, because I have never forgotten about you all. But as I wrap up the show, I want you to remember one thing: you are loved, you are enough, and you matter. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Have the nerve to keep going and pushing through your day. And thank you for tuning in. I'll see you all for part 2 for the next KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Until next time, be blessed.